to Industry, a show that has come into our lives and really, I think, asserted itself as just one of the best TV dramas that probably doesn't get recognized enough. And season one really was unexpected, just like this HBO drama that about finance bros and the finance culture in London.
Mhm.
And it was really I feel like a word of mouth show. One that
Oh, yeah.
a few people watched and were like, man, this is really enjoying the show. More people started watching by the end of the year. It was like, oh, Industry, really, really solid first season. Really love a lot of the characters. Some really great performances. Man, season two, we talked about the premiere a few weeks back. Season two absolutely established it as one of the best TV dramas, hands down. And I think just one of the most engaging shows episode to episode. The way that the show is able to build tension in so many different ways and play these dynamics, and some of it I was like, I should be played out of this Jesse Bloom Harper relationship by now, but somehow every single episode it kind of sucked me back in. I was just blown away by the second season. How about you?
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely tremendous. Huge level up. And you have to imagine the word of mouth is really picking up at this point. I really did love season one, partially due to its unexpectedness, right? You have these two former finance people, and Mickey Down and Conrad K, bringing this drama to HBO and the BBC. And it's super credible as a finance show. It's like true high finance, in the weeds.
Mhm.
It's written very intelligently. People that aren't familiar with finance don't pick up on everything. I certainly don't know everything they're talking about sometimes, but it's also so expertly made where the characters are very well written and you get really invested in multiple story arcs, and just the way the show builds and holds tension and also defies audience expectation. That was already strong in season one. And then they just fucking broke the knob off with season two. And huge finale, huge penultimate episode. It's like this dropping bomb after bomb. And this show somehow has not been renewed for season three officially yet. You
It
have to
will be.
imagine they will tell us something very soon because
It will be.
it just a banger season.
Yeah, and you talked about the way that they get you invested in so many storylines, and I think what they do really well is everybody on this show should be hateable. Everybody is despicable pretty much on this show. And they do a really smart thing about halfway through the season where they introduce this young up and coming intern or new
Yeah,
hire
new first
who
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
who comes into this environment and is like, what the hell is going on? She is just totally no, that is sexual assault. And it's it totally, I think, exposes the insanity of this culture, or at least the culture that is at Pier Point at this time, and that these characters are living in. And it really just highlights that a lot of these people are not good people, or at least not acting in good ways. But it does a really good job in the second season of building out why these people do act this way. You get the Harper episode with her brother in Berlin. You get Yasmine and everything with her dad, and then you
Hmm.
talking to his dad's or her former babysitter, or her dad's lover and uh,
Yeah.
baby mama. And then you get the stuff with um, man,
Robert.
I'm forgetting Robert. Yes, thank you. With his dad and his mom and all that
Hmm.
stuff. That really builds out his traumatic past, and it all really informs the characters' actions, even if you still are man, Harper's really fucked up in this season. She does a lot of fucked up shit. It really does. Yasmin, the way that she interacts with that new hire and really belittles her, or belittles her old boss, like uh, Kenny,
Hmm.
is
Kenny. Yep.
really, really you hate her at times, but other times you are so entranced by her and entranced by her performance. And I think she's probably the clear standout to me of season two. I think every time that she's on screen, I'm just totally sucked in. Um, But I just think they do such a good job of building these characters out in such a full way. It's really impressive.
Oh, totally. And with the way the finale leaves you with this like this like class of uh, bankers we have here, right? It's uh, Yaz is cut off from her family for the first time, and like truly understanding just how privileged she was for the first time. And that's like something like you're introduced to right away. It's like this is an extremely privileged, uh, elitist, wealthy person, and that gets exposed to her. And then obviously what happens to Harper, right? Not expected, leaving
Mhm.
Pierpoint, and Rob. Um, Getting, at one hand, it's like, oh, wait, is Rob going to get a DWI or something? Going to jail, lose his job that way? No, no, no. That's not what's happening. Rob is actually just so fucked up that he's like accepted this parasitic, toxic relationship with one of his uh, clients, And it's like the way like those three are left there. Even Gus, who's like kind of on the side, but has a pretty strong like second half of season 2. Even Gus, he got fired too.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's down bad for this our,
Yeah.
our, our young group.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the characters I that grew on me this season was Rishi, right?
Mm,
Like
yeah,
in season one, he's kind of like around, but it doesn't
he's
get a lot of
recurring in
time.
season 1. Now he's like main cast on season 2.
Yeah, Cigar Radia. I think skyrockets in season two. I think he's phenomenal, and every
Yeah,
time like him as like what is he called?
he's
He's
like the
like
main
the
trader
banker,
on the
the
desk.
market, yeah, the
Right.
market like CPS desk guy. He is just like electric in that role, and like the way he just is like, no, fuck off, like da da da, like I'm gonna like da, 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 it's so great, and the back and forth between him and Harper with like the Bloom deals and stuff is so
Yes.
like
Yes.
intense. And like you said, they do a really good job of like they get in the weeds, and I'm sure people who are in high finance are like listening and like catching so many more things. But even if you don't really know like the nitty gritty, you can just tell the emotional turmoil and the fallout after each one. It makes it so riveting that you're just like sucked in. You want to like go back to these trading moments so much.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
I really loved all that stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, was it like the end of either episode 1 or 2 where Harper's like on the phone on the desk and everyone's literally watching her, and then she nails it. I believe it's a deal with Bloom, and like everyone's like clapping for her
Yeah.
basically because she just like smashed it and like made the company like a shit ton of commission and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
like the way like they build that tension though with the timing, and they'll disperse like a trading screen, and like it's like, man, like you said, you don't really have to know exactly what's going on to really feel that momentum, and that really speaks to how strong and well crafted this series is, that it's that legible to people that don't actually really know the A to B of what's happening.
Yeah. I also think one of the things they do really smartly in this season is they introduced David, who is this
Hmm.
like pure
DMV.
point. Yeah, the like this pure point guy who's like looking out for the company, but like the more you kind of get to know him, he's just kind of like trying to like keep his head down and like just do what's right kind of thing. And he's thrust into this really fucked up environment where him doing like the right thing is like seen as like really really like oh you're fucking us over, you're doing something shitty, and then he gets sucked into like them jumping ship from Pierpoint
Yeah.
because they're going to be like kind of, trimming down people as they like move more of the company to New York.
Yeah.
And seeing him as like this like pawn in this game and like kind of being used by all the people was just like heartbreaking in ways, but also like uh, my feelings on him probably changed the most throughout the season. I go from really liking him, thinking
Yeah.
he's like Eric's kind of like abusing him, to thinking he's just like a total chud, to like
Right.
feeling like
He's
bad
like
for him. It's like
he's
crazy.
stealing everyone's job and closing down the desk. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Right. Then he gets involved with Harper briefly, starts
Mhm.
helping her out, at least being good to her, and it's like, huh, you're right. And actually, his name is Danny, not David.
Danny, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
DVD too. I called him DMV. DVD.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that was a really important figure to have on the show. Kind of vacates the role that Kenny had in season 1, where Kenny was much more present in
Mhm.
season 1 as like the direct, his direct report was Yaz at the time, and like we still have like the threads of that, of course, in season 2, but having some new blood in the form of DVD. And like you said, I think the way he really moves up and down as the plot progresses and how he interacts with the characters, like it is really thrilling at the end of the penultimate episode where Rishi, Harper, and Eric bring in DVD,
Hmm.
and he not that he in because he is
Has
like
the
their only
connection.
like play at the time, right? And like,
Yeah.
gosh, and then from there, like Eric saying in the finale that he has no more moves left, and then you see the way the finale ends, and Eric actually did have uh,
Yeah.
a move, and Harper doesn't even see it coming. She thinks it's more about the trade that Bloom she does for Bloom at the end, which is ethically questionable. But no, it's even beyond that, right? Huge callback to the pilot.
Yeah, and you have to think that, at least from everything we've seen, I do think the like potential insider trading that Harper was involved in with Bloom probably was what led Eric to make this move, right?
Right.
It's actually kind of like a protection thing to
I'm
like,
doing this for you, as he put it.
yeah. But even though she doesn't really understand that, and her biggest fear is just not having anywhere else to go. At this
Right.
point, she doesn't have a connection to Bloom, doesn't want to go back to New York and face her family.
Right.
Um,
Right. As an
yeah,
American in London, she wants to stay in England.
so I'm really interested to see what happens with her. What was your feelings on Yaz throughout this season? I mean, she has the whole thing where she's connected with man, I forgot her name, but the really like interesting
Celeste.
looking, beautiful, yeah, Celeste, like manager of these
Yeah.
accounts.
It's like wealth management as opposed to like portfolio
Trading.
work with the other guy. I don't exactly understand the difference between the two roles, but it's it's more upstairs at Pierpoint, as
Hmm.
they say. Yeah, I thought that was interesting because like by taking Yaz off like the more like I guess straightforward trading floor stuff, you're kind of like exposing that character to like some different stuff, and I think they really do a good job of kind of playing off Marissa Bella's beauty and like the character Yaz's beauty, and like putting that into like the story in this new role, and like they kind of defy your expectations pretty routinely, like where you think that's gonna go. They nod at all kinds of stuff, and the way it fizzles out, I think, was probably the strongest way it could, right? Where they
Hmm.
pay off all this family development that the series, this season was interested in with Robert, Yaz, and Harper, and actually puts Yaz in a very interesting place now, right? Cut off from her wealth and her ease of life, right? And like, what does that mean now? you know, Harper unemployed. What does that mean now? Obviously, we're in a very intriguing place. But yeah, I thought Yaz, it you never really knew where it was going with her, but because Marissa Bell is just like that good and like the characters like that engaging, it was always one of like the highlights I think of the season, just to be in this and also have that, like I said, that different rhythm to the trading floor, like hardcore stuff that's going on with Harper and Eric.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was a great move to kind of like separate her, especially because like how sustainable would it be to have her and Harper just having this like constant like dynamic on the floor where like Harper's anxiety is at level 1,000 and just treating Yaz like shit, and Yaz just like treating her terribly as well. Like the few interactions you get between them are really brutal, and like at the end, seeing them like kind of coming back together and like acknowledge that and be like, "I said that," like. And it was after I said that, like, nobody loves you. Like, I thought that was like a pretty funny way to kind of like bring them back together and have them reconcile. But I liked the way that it kind of forced Yaz to confront her dad's uh I don't know,
In,
relationship, but also just,
impropriety of some kind.
yeah, but I think also just in general, like the kind of people that they're working for, right? Like Bloom is like this, like uh, I don't know, he's like a piece of shit, but also just like he like thinks the whole thing's ridiculous and kind of sees like everything as
Right.
like a game and everything's gamified. And Harper realizes that, but also like doesn't realize how much she's being gamified within all of it.
Yeah.
But Yaz really like is seeing the underbelly of these people, and it's kind of exposed through her dad, but just like it, the way that she's made to confront that makes everything I think really intriguing, while also having this like supercharged sexual relationship with her boss. Um,
Hmm. Yeah,
just like really, really fascinating dynamics to it all. And I
yeah,
just, I think Marissa Abella is someone that's going to be getting a lot more roles after this season.
yeah. She was in the mix for one of those new biopics, if I remember right.
Wow.
Forgot who it was, but yeah, she's definitely one to watch for sure. Yeah, I really like the way they had they brought Yaz like into the sexual assault on the part of
Yeah.
the client, right? Like obviously, like that's like the big aspect of Rob's season. You're like, oh, where's that going? You know, is this kind of like a side thing because Rob's on the cast? Don't really know. And the way they bring it in when the client does it again to the new
Nicole. Yeah.
hire, and she's not fucking with it, and the way she brings that to Yaz, and Yaz does not handle that professionally or even kindly the first time, right? Not good. And then on top of that, the way they put that on DVD in Kenny, and they have Kenny be the one to confront Yaz for
Hmm.
fucking this up badly, right? And then having Yaz, perhaps internally, and you see it later in the finale, realize that she really fucked that up, and like
Hmm.
that was very unethical and mean to downplay it that way, right? Obviously, but she also gets to completely explode on Kenny for
Hmm.
the way she was treated by him as her boss at the time in season one, right? It's like I thought that was like a really satisfying way to bring all that together, you know?
Totally.
But then now they're keeping that thread going with Robert too, who's clearly just um, aimless with his personal morals, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think just like completely stuck in this like traumatic loop of wanting to like reconcile things with his mom but not being able to, and so like sufficing to this like abusive relationship. I agree with everything with like Yaz in that moment where she gets to explode on Kenny, especially because like the stuff between her and Kenny is like there's so many undercurrents of like Yaz really just having so much anger towards him that she won't express and just kind of keeps
Right.
downplaying. And Kenny actually is like really trying to get it out of her because he recognizes that she has every right to feel angry. And he's pretty ridiculous, like a lot of the season. Like they really play up his like AA mentality and like some
Really
of the ways he like,
apologetic.
yeah, exactly. And they kind of make him look foolish in a sense, but that like moment of like, yeah, is actually screaming at him. I think not only exposes like how the show has kind of twisted your mindset where it's like, oh, Kenny actually is acting like, somebody who is trying to like reconcile and is trying to do well, even if he still is kind of like a weird piece of shit kind of guy. But Yaz is the one who you root for most of the time, and then it totally flips them over. And you're like, wow, Yaz, like, what the fuck? Like, that's super shitty of
Hmm.
you. I thought that was really smart. Um, as we're kind of working our way through here, I mentioned Rishi. We kind of moved off him. The finale is really fascinating for him. Someone
Hmm.
that is a crucial part of like all the moves being made. Are they going to go somewhere else? He's like clearly, I think, the standout piece along with Harper's relationship to Bloom, which she doesn't actually have when she's in a lot of these meetings.
Yeah.
But then all the stuff between him and Harper at the end is like unexpected and just kind of like feels like there's like this whole new mess that's going to be coming up in future seasons. A lot to make sense of. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely didn't expect that. Rishi on the eve of his wedding, um, consummating something with Harper unexpectedly.
Just getting the poison out, bro.
Just got to get the poison out. And Harper responds, yeah, me too. It's a kind of like a thrillingly unexpected scene. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like these people are so fucked up in the head. They're so damn rich and they truly have no real problems, and yet they just can't get their shit together. And I love it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think the Rishi all season is great just because, like you said, the performance is so good. He has amazing one-liners. Even when like, he like walks out of frame, they like definitely like 80-yard like one-liners from him, and you hear it like you just hear like his lines like just
Hmm.
belittling something, right? Like just one-liner stuff. But then to like really take it to a head here, and it's almost foreshadowed in a sense, right? Where like when they think they're moving to New York, Rishi is like lamenting the fact that he could have like slayed in
Hmm.
Manhattan, but alas, he's about to be married.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter. Let's get this poison out in the bathroom stall. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Just fascinating and quick. I will say, not an impressive performance from Rishi for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of thinking about anatomy there, I'm surprised it was that fast, given that, I can't imagine it was super good or anything, I don't
Had to
know.
get the
Like,
poison out.
yeah.
Any other thoughts on industry, man? I mean, it's just a really fun show.
Yeah, well, I think now we're in a really thrilling place where the Eric Harper relationship has truly been fractured
Mhm.
and they literally don't even work at the same place anymore. Eric, though, has not been sent off the pasture, which is alluded to and suggested all of season two. Eric is back in the game, at least for now, and Harper is not. So there's just a lot of possibility. Whether J. Duplas as Bloom is back on the show, don't know. If he's not, he was a great presence, great
He was.
performance. I'm sure they'll figure it out from here. Yeah, and just that unknown of Harper and Eric at this point, I think, is really gonna be really great. But I just have like total faith in Down and K to crush this show moving forward. It's that good.
Watch Industry. It's fantastic. We didn't even really talk about Gus, but really liked his
Yeah,
arc in the second half of the season. I think his politicking will play a part in
he's a
season
fucking
three.
Tory too. God damn.
Yeah, I know.